This is episode 73, the difference between I have to and I choose to. Welcome to Alive by Design. My name is Blake Mallon, and we're here to bring you inspiring people, principles, and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. Open your mind and let's dive in. Hey guys, before you listen to the podcast, I just want to drop in and say I appreciate you for being here, and I'm super excited about this new Walk With Me series. These are solo episodes where I take some time in the middle of my morning run through the Santa Monica Mountains to share some inspired ideas and thoughts on my mind and heart. If you want to join me for any of these conversations live, you can catch me many mornings on my Facebook page, facebook.com/BlakeMallon.page. Would love to see you there. Love you guys. Enjoy the episode. Walk with me. So I was having a conversation this weekend with someone close to me, and it reminded me of another conversation I had a long while back with a mentor in my life. A very definitive shift that I think is super timely, highly valuable. I think there was a reason it came back up recently, and I want to share it with you all today. I remember the conversation a long time ago. I was sitting down, and I don't remember the exact context of the situation I was going through, but I remember I was explaining to my mentor, someone I looked up to at the time, what was happening, what I was feeling. And without even realizing it, I guess in my language, the words I was using was, well, I have to do this, and I have to do that, and so and so and so and so, and this and that, so I have to. And in the middle of the conversation, I remember the moment, because he stopped me, raised his voice, raised his intensity, and said, Blake, you don't have to. You choose to. You don't have to. You choose to. And I remember that moment because it was a shift for me in what I thought was just maybe casual conversation, words I wasn't even aware that I was using. And then all of a sudden realizing the giant difference between the feeling of have to and what I believe is the reality of choose to. And I want to talk about how we shift that script, why it's so important, maybe even more so than you realize, beyond just semantics or language. I'm talking down to a subconscious level, down to an intentional level, and how maybe now more than ever, at a time where so easy to maybe slip into a have to mentality, we have to be more conscious or intentional than ever on the reality of choose to. Today's conversation is a big one. It's relevant probably now more than ever. And I think it's something that you're going to find is important or meaningful to you, maybe with what you're going through right now. Business, personal life, career, work, family, whatever you're trying to elevate. Whew. View from the top. I'm gonna go ahead and take a seat, have a conversation. If you guys don't mind, have to choose to. So I have three thoughts on this, and did some reflecting. Again, this recent conversation put me back to a previous conversation and realized this is a huge mental shift. And I did some reflecting here on kind of why it's so meaningful and so powerful. And I had 3 thoughts come to mind I want to share on my mind and heart this morning. If that's okay with you all out there, is that okay? So first thought has to do with the concept or understanding of cause and effect. Cause and effect, right? Now, cause and effect you can interpret in a lot of ways. You know, one of the first things maybe that comes to mind is, right, the old saying or fact that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I saw a funny meme get posted the other day that said, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction and an even greater social media overreaction. And I thought that was fitting and timely. Because when I talk about cause and effect, I'm not necessarily talking about physics. I'm talking about being at cause in your life versus in effect in your life. Meaning there's 2 ways in any circumstance you can approach it. You can decide that you are the cause, or you can decide that you are the effect. You see, a lot of times we don't use cause and effect to describe what we go through in life. A lot of times we might see the negative and use terms to describe it as, oh, that person is not taking responsibility, right, for themselves, or that person is putting off, right, maybe responsibility. Or if it goes a little deeper and the pattern, right, gets super negative, a lot of times we'll say, oh, that person is being a victim, right, or is in a victim mentality. Or that person is just apathetic or indifferent or doesn't care. You guys, all of these are a bucket that we use to describe what I would say is a person being in effect, meaning have pushed responsibility for a decision or a responsibility for their circumstance or a responsibility for their behavior out into the ether, right? Whether that be pushed onto somebody else that they, point to or blame, or something else that they justify or create an excuse. All of those guys fall into the bucket of in effect, meaning you, through your language, maybe consciously or subconsciously, are living your life in effect, right? In response or in reaction to something or someone else. You guys, the language between I have to and the shift to I choose to is deeper than just a word, right, in the middle. The language is the shift from being in effect to being at cause in our life. You see, I have to is in effect. I have to is pushing responsibility out. I have to is relinquishing your reality that you have ownership in who you are and what you do and the actions you take every single day, right? I have to is saying you have no choice, right? You have no part in the decision. You are literally pushing ownership over your life onto someone or something else anytime you verbally out loud or mentally in your internal conversation or talk say that you have to. Guys, let's be real. There's very few things in our life that we really have to do. If you get down to it, there are a very short list of things we have to do. By making the shift to I choose to, you're taking control back, you're taking power back, you're taking ownership back. You are moving that point in time or that decision from being in effect to being at cause. You are the cause. I choose to do this. You guys, it's a decision. You guys, being at cause in your life, that's what's taking power. That's what moves things from an out of your control to an in your control bucket. That's what allows you really to start building a life by your design as opposed to living a life by default, right? Based on the who's and the what's and the things that you point around. So it's more than just a word, right? Shifting the conversation from I have to I choose to is literally saying I'm going to be at cause for the actions I take in my life and therefore the results that I get. Guys, which that big shift is one of the very first steps in transformation and reinvention and elevation and progress and moving toward your potential, you can't go out there and pursue, right, everything you want to be and everything you want to do if you're constantly pushing ownership on to other things outside of your control. One of the big steps you have to take is to be at cause, to say, you know what, the things that I do, I choose to do. Right now, they may not all be things that you absolutely want to do in the moment. They may not all be things that are absolutely fun. They may not all be things that bring you instant joy in everything you do. But you guys, that doesn't negate the fact that in that moment, you still choose to do that because of what you believe that's going to put in motion for you or the people around you. So guys, I think the first concept to understand is I have to I choose to is making a decision to be at cause, not in effect when it comes to your life. And it comes down to those simple things, the language and the thought pattern that we think. Second thing that comes to my mind has to do with freedom. How many of you guys would say, if you were really to list kind of your personal values, maybe some of you have done this exercise, the things that you value unconditionally that are important to you, how many of you would have freedom somewhere on that list? Yeah, you see, I think that freedom is probably built into most of our DNA just as humans. I think by our nature, we are meant to be creative. I think all of us were meant to, kind of fitting word here this morning, we're meant to create. I think all of us out there are creatives. Now, people create in different ways, right, through different means. But I think if we really were to get to know everybody on this planet deep enough, we'd realize everybody has a creative energy, a creative spirit. We just manifest that in different things, right? But I think we're all creators at nature. We're all designed to create at nature. And being creative at nature, I think, goes hand in hand with an innate desire to have a freedom or a feeling of freedom. Guys, creative individuals value freedom. And by nature, I think we're all creative individuals. So when we talk about freedom, I have to, the energy around those words or that intention alone, they clip the wings of someone pursuing freedom. And if you're having those conversations with yourself, I have to, you are actually creating, right, bars around the very feeling that you desire. They desire to have freedom to do the things that you want, to create freely. But the shift from I have to I choose to, you guys, I choose to, going back at cause, aligns with you designing, right, the life that you want, aligns with you pursuing the freedom that you want. That's why over time, you find people that live in the I have to, that shuck the responsibility, that constantly blame or justify or point the finger or look out the window, right? Over time, what happens to those individuals? I found that over time, over and over and over again, a resentment builds up, right? A resentment builds up. They start to resent maybe a person or group of people or a thing or group of things, or they start to resent the circumstances or the environment they're in. What starts as maybe a shucking of responsibility, I have to, becomes a resentment. And if that goes deep enough, right, it eventually becomes an anger or even a hatred. How many of you have seen people take that mentality, right, from I have to getting into the victim mentality and the energy that starts to get created around them? You guys, a resentment will get created over time if freedoms are felt like they're taken away. But the big realization here is, guys, the reality is those freedoms were never taken from you. That's just you choosing to operate in a have to mentality versus a choose to mentality. Because at the end of the day, guys, we are responsible for our lives. At the end of the day, we get to make a choice. At the end of the day, right, we're the ones that make the decisions. So I think I have to I choose to is also about protecting our feeling of freedom and the things that we need in our nature and not putting our own bars or cage around us. And the last thought, and don't get me wrong, I think the first shift is shifting from I have to I choose to. But I also think there might be one more shift after you get into that gear. And I don't want to put too much on you right now, right? If you're in a have to mentality, if you're feeling like you're making decisions, right, that are outside of your control, I think the first step or first shift you have to make is you have to change that internal conversation, change that mentality, that it's not I have to, it's I choose to. But once you get good in living in I choose to, living right at cause, protecting the freedom, I think there is another shift that all of us should pursue. And that's shifting from I choose to I get to. I choose to I get to. You guys see, I choose to is taking back responsibility. It's taking back ownership in your life. It's taking back your power, reclaiming your freedom. But I choose to I get to. Now, I get to is a whole other level, right? I get to is starting to recognize that decisions that we get to make, right, have in them, wrapped in, guys, always a giant possibility, right? A giant opportunity. Realizing that the things that are put in front of us, right, and the decisions we get to make those decisions. We get to do those things because those could be a door to something greater. You guys, get to is rooted in a nature of gratitude. It's realizing that, you know what? Even in some of your toughest situations, there are people on this planet that would give their life, that would die to be in the same situation, to get to have the ability to make the same decision that you get to make. And you guys, that is an absolute fact. And I once heard a quote that, hey, if we were able to throw all of our problems into a pile, once you're able to see everybody else's problems, you would probably take your own problems back. And you guys, that's the realization that, you know what, in every situation or circumstance we're in, there's something to be grateful for. There's opportunity to be found. There's possibility in there. No matter how, right, quote unquote, bad it may seem, or dire it may seem, or negative it may seem, or you guys, there's opportunity and possibility wrapped in all of that. And we get to be in the position to make a decision or take an action. We get to go through what we're going through, to see what we're made of, to learn who we are, to learn something new, to build a skill, to build a muscle, to build some strength. We get to go through a situation where maybe we have to let go or release in order to move forward. We get to pursue a new direction, right? Try something different, meet someone new. We get to. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself today. You guys, this conversation came up, and I'm learned to believe that, hey, conversations resurface maybe for a reason. Whenever I feel compelled to share, I hope these are valuable to you. But I challenge you to think about, where is your internal conversation at right now? You guys, this framework works in all areas of our life. It might be, something that you're facing when it comes to relationships or family or your career or business. You might be in a state where you're trying to go to a next level or break through. Things might be absolutely phenomenal right now, and you're trying to figure out how to even go to another level. I think no matter what circumstance you're in, check in with yourself, your internal dialogue. And where are you at right now? Are you I have to do this, I have to do that? Or have you made the shift to, I choose to do this, I choose to do that? Or maybe you're dancing on the next layer that I think everybody should try to get to, where it's like, I get to do this, I get to do that. And you guys, the difference between those shifts is more than just a word. The difference between those shifts is everything. The feeling you have in it, the energy around it, and ultimately the outcome you get because of it. Where do you lie right now? Where do you want to lie right now? So hopefully you guys are ready to make the shift. I'll give you one more view from the top. I'm going to get going, pick back up my run, head back, rate and review. I read all the rates and reviews. I appreciate all of those. And in the meantime, guys, hey, until the next time we walk together, I hope all of you are safe. I hope all of you are healthy. I hope all of you are well. And I challenge all of you this week to make a shift from I have to I choose to. And ultimately, I get to. Take care, everybody.
Hey guys, one last thing. I'm super excited that this new podcast, Alive by Design, just went live. You see, I designed the show to bring you inspired thoughts and fascinating conversations with the world's most impactful people, to provide transformative principles and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. And I'd love for you to help me spread the word now. Simply subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on this platform right now. So if I've ever given you value, please do me this personal favor and go subscribe now. And if you found today's episode helpful in any way, make sure you share this with at least one friend today. You have the power right now to change someone's day. So send them a text message with a link to alivebydesign.com, or simply copy and paste the link right from this podcast platform. Who's one person you know right now that you want to see succeed, that you want to see grow, that you want to see feel more alive? Shoot them a text with your largest takeaway from today and be a light in their day. And if you were referred here by a friend, make sure you shoot them a text back and say thank you. I'd love to hear from you directly on what you got from today's podcast. So if you're up for it, drop by my Instagram @BlakeMallon and shoot me a DM. And as always, thank you for showing up. I'm grateful for you, and I hope our time together today in some small way helped you feel a little more alive. Until next time.